Mashizan, the last time we spoke, we heard all about, your triumphs of taking your brand around the world, well, the different cities you lived in, and now this, fantastic show that's happening in Paris in October, celebrating Mashizan and other Singaporean brands' journey. I was wondering if you have faced any challenges, actually.
Oh, absolutely. Building a brand from scratch is never easy. And I, for one, know how tough it is and how challenging it is to build a brand from scratch, especially a sort of a premium or luxury brand where you really have to build your whole base and foundation, as well as your whole brand universe and design voice. So there are lots of challenges. I mean, essentially trying to build anything from scratch, it's difficult, let alone one that's kind of luxury or premium. One of the first things, obviously, for a designer to think about, if he or she wants to launch a brand, is to think about the universe that you want your brand to reside in. The brand universe is very, very important, where you need to know who you are and your values, and you communicate those values through either your products, your messaging, your communication. I think all these things, you have to figure it out first before anything else. And then, of course, your logos, your branding come into play, followed by sourcing your products, whether you want to manufacture them in Europe or in Asia or anywhere else. You have to figure out the steps and the procedures you have to do in order to launch the brand, because it's not easy to get into some of the factories and manufacturers that are of a certain premium quality. For instance, I chose to produce my shoes in Florence, Italy, partly because I had my training there. I studied there, shoe designing and shoemaking. So for me, it was a natural extension to produce there. But even then, even with such background, right, it's not easy trying to get that inroad with a particular manufacturer or factory. They always have a question of trust and concern about whether you as a brand can deliver what's promised in terms of payment, in terms of decision making and processes involved. So there are lots of things to consider, really, and that's just one part of it. And,
I find that very interesting, that a lot of people don't realize how hard it actually is to get their brand to where you have gotten your brand to, Mashizan. So sometimes people might feel a little discouraged when things don't go well in the first month, the first year, the first couple of years, without realizing maybe it's normal.
I think for me, I've always been quite authentic in my communication, even to my clients. I've always been very upfront with them, the difficulties and the challenges in producing some of our shoes.
Yes.
That authenticity is very important, because even for clients who may not know your brand and as they develop a following with you, the trust is there. So, for example, sometimes we have a new collection and people place orders for certain sizes that are not available. So I always communicated to them that, our manufacturers in Florence, they're all artisans. They make shoes by hand. So sometimes you might have to wait a little longer than normal, than say if you were to go to a boutique of a much bigger conglomerate. So I think it's being authentic in your communication that makes people sort of really appreciate what you're trying to do. So I think that's quite important.
That's great advice. Great advice for anybody who's starting up their new brand. We have been looking forward to listening to your brand story. I love your tagline. It says, when I bought this necklace today, and so then I went to investigate a little bit, like the packaging and, the hashtags that they use, and I realized they often talk about jewelry for the simpler life. And I wondered if, Stephanie, you could share a little bit about Eden+Elie and also about that inspiration.
Yeah, thanks, Jade. So nice to join both of you. Late to the party, I found that I made it. So I think I come from the world of design. I used to be an architect and also a consultant in different kinds of jobs. And I got to a point in my life where I really wanted to combine the things that I loved and put them in one place. And I realized that I really love design. I wanted to see, also make a difference in the world. And so I never really set out to be an entrepreneur, to be honest. It wasn't really a childhood dream or anything like that. I felt like, I had come to a point in my career where I had to build what I wanted to have, right? The experience that I wanted to have. So I started with jewelry making, which is something that I just picked up and is a particular way of making jewelry using needle and thread, because my mom used to sew when I was young. And she made clothes for my sister and myself. And so it was something that was very sort of natural to me. The tagline, Jewelry for a Simpler Life, was something that I was seeking for when I came out of working full time. I realized that, as modern women today, we have so much that we can purchase, right? Those of us who have the means, have careers, have juggling different things, families and responsibilities. We don't really need someone to buy things for us, right? We kind of just go and get what we want, sort of like the modern woman. And I felt that for me, I really wanted to sort of distill what was meaningful in life. And when I go about designing the jewelry, like the very first thing is what Jade's wearing, which is the adjustable length necklace. And that was really sort of the realization that every day I got up and went to work, I would try to figure out, what should I wear? And, we think so much about just getting ready for the day. And I wanted to create an adjustable length necklace that would fit your outfit, right? So if you had a high collar or low collar, you could just adjust it up and down. And to me, that essence of really sort of tackling time and realizing that, the things that are well designed and the things that you enjoy should give back something that's really meaningful to you. And most of us are short of time. So me, that really sort of about the sentiment that it takes time to create our pieces because they're all hand woven. Like you were saying, Mashizan, about your artisans, everything is made one stitch at a time, and that shows commitment, that shows love, and also giving back time for women so that they can get dressed for their day with a little bit more simple. That's it.
Yeah, I always feel that time really is indeed luxury, because when you cultivate something that really takes time, you are really showing lots of appreciation for the work that goes into it. I think it's really important to appreciate time as a form of luxury, really. Because these days, everyone's just sort of rushing around and trying to do things here and there. We don't take time to cultivate the goodness of things that, are worthy of appreciation,
Yes, truly. And speaking of time as a luxury, I know both of you are actually at least double having, if not triple having, and I'm really just paring it down here. Mashizan, you're actually studying at the moment as well, aren't you?
Yeah,
Tell us a little bit about how you're juggling everything.
I am currently doing my executive MBA at Institut Français de la Mode, so it's a top fashion school in Paris. The program is not difficult. It's the fact that it's all done in French that's killing me. I mean, I've learned the language. I've been speaking the language. I'm generally quite conversant day to day, but you asked me to do an analysis of an image in French that's esoteric and philosophical. It's tough. And to do financial accounting in French is very difficult as well. So that's been, talk about struggle, right? That's been my struggle for the program. But it's great. I got to make lots of new friends. I'm so excited about, widening my network among the fashion community in Paris. Just yesterday, on Saturday, we had an alumni event in a chateau just 2 hours from Paris. And it was just great to be a part of the ecosystem of fashion in Paris, really. So as much as I am struggling in trying to juggle so many things, I am glad I did the program, and it's worth it.
Aww. And you have some support here from someone in the audience. Safir Islin says, "Hi, I love Eden and Ellie's line of jewelry and Mashizan's shoe designs. Very elegant, and the story behind it is truly inspiring." And Ishanen says, "French is tough indeed." Then laughing emoji with tears coming out.
Yes, I'm literally crying every time.
People in there, in the audience tonight. And so when we say time is luxury, Stephanie, as a busy mom, what's coming up for you?
Oh, I think we can all relate, those of us who are mothers as well, that we struggle with never having really enough time to do all the things that we want, isn't it? So we've got our jobs, we've got our work, our passions, and we've got our families, and I think we can all relate. And it's a very old conversation, if I might add, happening all circles around the world. Women struggle with juggling so many things, right? But I think back to the authenticity question that we raised earlier. I think no one can have it all, and I'm definitely one of those. I feel like I'm dropping balls over the place. We're trying to figure out which child is going to be in which place and having to pick up what. And my parents' gateway and gazillion things that are coming through school, and then definitely juggling with my job. But I think I take comfort in just knowing that my children see me working. And when they see me working and they realize that I'm working for something that I really care about and believe in, I hope that they know it's important, right? And I think it's also meaningful for me when they realize my time is going into something that matters, right? And that's kind of all I ask for. I think in the early days, right, when we all sort of start businesses, we were kind of working out of the corner of our house, right? And they were really young then, so they would be, crawling around the ground or working on their ABCs in the corner. And I think we all kind of do that, right? We live time in parallel, don't we? We don't just do one thing at a time. I know it's all about being present and all that, but we have so many things going on. And I think most of the time we really just have that really full life, Yeah. Fantastic. But besides my mom job, running Eden+Elie is definitely more than full time. So, yeah.
I feel it's sometimes it's about compartmentalization. There's certain pockets of time where you really have to make time for certain projects. And even when I first was given this opportunity to curate something for all of us, part of me was thinking, do I really want to do this? Because it's a full-time job, trying to organize something that's a mammoth like this, right? Organizing 10 different designers and 12 different brands. But I always feel like if you believe something very strongly, and if you truly feel like that's what's right to be doing, you will excel in it. And then I think that's always been true to me. And I'm sure for you as well, Steph, it's kind of the conviction that what you're doing, gut feeling is right. And sort of you just got to plow through it all and just persevere through, just to hang on, really.
Yeah, I love that. So you have like a North Star that just leads you, and, come hell or high water, all the challenges that might stand in your way, you just sort of like never lose sight of that goal that's so important. And I also loved how Stephanie was sharing that she's not just authentic with her clients and her followers, but also with her family and her loved ones, and they see the struggles that she's going through. And in that way, she also inspires people around her. Now, Stephanie, I understand that there's also a social enterprise element to your business. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. So I started Eden+Elie as I shared just now because I wanted to combine the things I really cared about. And through my time of traveling, I realized that many people really live in great need around the world. I mean, we're pretty fortunate in Singapore where we are with the things that we have at our resources. And I wanted to combine what I loved and knew about design and business and all my years of working to design things that could provide jobs and provide work for people in need and bring those products to the world. So my co-founder, Leon To, was not on this call. It comes from Impact Finance. And I think the combination we want to put forth is really sort of how design can bring impact. And it's one of the SDG goals, which I also really care about in my other work. But our jewelry, the people who make our jewelry are employees, but they also happen to be adults on the autism spectrum. So we currently have 9 artisans that we support who hand weave the pieces of jewelry that you see, and they've been with us for some of them for up to 4 years. Right? So it's something. Well,
fantastic.
Yeah, so it's all they're in Singapore, so they produce in Singapore. A lot of people don't know, don't realize we have communities in need as well. One of the things I do like to speak about when I think about social enterprise, right, or socially conscious brands, is to really for me, sometimes we go in a fashion circle and we just talk about how something looks, right? For me, it also matters a lot of how something is made and who makes it, and those are all parts of. We're very complex, right? We're very layered, right? So it's not just one thing. But thanks, Jay, for asking. So we do happen to be a social enterprise, and we do have a socially conscious component, and we support our artisans right now who happen to be adults on the autism.
I mean, that's why I really love your story, Stephanie, because I think that's one of the reasons why I really wanted you to be part of our collective, is the authenticity in your storytelling. It's really kind of meaningful, and I think designers really ought to do more of that. It's not easy to do it all the time, but I think as brands, we always need to think about the larger world that we reside in. It's not just about, as you said, just beautiful things, but also about the meanings behind some of these that we're trying to create.
Yeah, thank you. Can I show this pic?
Yes, absolutely. Could you show that a little bit more? Yes, fantastic.
Turn it around. Let us see a little bit.
I know.
Yeah.
Awesome. I love that.
Paris.
Any plans to make the men's accessories?
Right. On it.
Just
He
saying.
asked Onietta the same question about Baju by Onietta, by the way, at the last episode. He asked, hey, is there anything for men? And then she was so delighted to tell him about this special custom-made batik piece for him with the forbidden Paran symbol, I remember. Your energy is also a resource that's a luxury. And Mashizan, back to you. All the things that you're doing, including your, grappling with a French school. Why did you feel like you wanted to devote time and energy to setting up this collaboration in Paris for these designers? I mean, why is it important to you that this is a success?
I think for me, the essence of it is that together and as a collective, we are stronger together. I really wanted to build a sort of community and a collective where we are affirming and very supportive of one another. Because sometimes as designers and as creative directors, we exist in our own little bubble, in our own world. And it can be quite a solitary one. I know what it's like to be sort of in my own little world, coming up with my own creations, but you kind of don't realize that you're part of an ecosystem. And I think when you cultivate the ecosystem, you really can learn from one another. And I've always believed in, creating an ecosystem where people can sort of exchange ideas, exchange thoughts, figure out what's the best way to do things. Even things as simple as going on a trade show. If some people prefer to do wholesale and retail, I'm sure some of us have more experience in wholesale and trade show routes. So things like that, we can always communicate to each other. But until you realize that you are part of an ecosystem, you're kind of living in your own little bubble, to be honest. And what I'm really hoping, and I'm hoping this is the start of something bigger and more beautiful, is the fact that we are a community, we are a collective, a tribe.
And I'm interested to know, because you've got such a diverse stable of brands coming up to Paris. You've got I Want the Missing Piece, you've got Nude by Femme, Eden+Elie Studio, you've got Nita Shea, and you've also got skincare brands like Straight Skincare and Dr. GL Lee's brand, Dr. GL. You've got accessory brands. You've got Eden+Elie, but also Intrigued by Jamie. And I understand you've also got a florist, this humid house that's going up to conceptualize this beautiful space with you. And you even have a customizable fragrance company. Is it Cipher that's going up with you? What is the commonality between all of these brands? What attracted you to them, to us?
I think it's the authenticity of the stories, I think, for each individual brands, and the fact that each brand has got a really truly inspiring story, either through its craftsmanship or through its social enterprise nature. It's the fact that these brands are kind of curated in some ways. It's not mass produced. It's not made in somewhere where you're not paid properly. I think the fact that all these brands that I've kind of selected are ones which really cultivate values that are kind of similar to ours as well. So I think that's quite important.
Aww. That's fantastic. And one of the designers is actually traveling up from Singapore to meet you, taking her journey from Singapore to Paris. And that's Onyeta, who's the designer of Baju by Onyeta. And she's just said on the chat, Mashizan has the most goldenest of hearts. That's why he's doing this. And for that, we are thankful for this opportunity. Well said.
She's going to make me cry, and I don't want to cry on IG Live.
What are some of the essential things that you want to tell the Parisians about your Singapore story?
Wow, that is hard. That is a...
She asks tough questions,
I evoke awareness.
Your brand always why are you so reductive? But it's a great question. I think I would love for the Parisians to discover just the breadth and the depth of Singapore designers, right? I think when I was growing up in Singapore, it wasn't that common to be a designer. It wasn't a thing that little kid grows up to, always doctor or lawyer, right? But I think we've really come a long way, and I think we've really found different voices to express through our craft, right? Skincare, wellness, senses, scent, shoes, clothes, apparel, accessories, and I feel like so maybe for Singapore, I think Parisians realize that we're not just one thing, right? It's not just about Pronagans, or it's not about just a batik, or it's not just even about stones or whatever it might be, or
Cheongsams or anything. Yes, there's so much to us, right?
It's all that and more.
Yes.
And us bring a different facet of Singapore, which is what we are as a people. We are so many different things, and we are fun, and we are wonderful to get to know, and we're not just boring and rigid and rule following, right?
That's right. We don't just find people when they do wrong things, right?
Yeah.
I think that's what I'm trying to communicate to the larger audience as well. That there's a certain fun side to us, certain soft side to us. It's not just about big tall skyscrapers and wonderful parks and.
I mean, look, right? They're so exuberant. They're so full of life, right? The color and the other designers are going up, and for us, we also feel like we want to showcase the meticulousness, right, and the obsession with craft that I think we have, right? We have this obsession with craft and with excellence, and it creates beautiful things. Yeah.
Mashizan, do you have anything that you might want to show to our audience tonight that might be on display at your show?
It's a good thing you asked, because just as I was supposed to go on live, I suddenly remember I had to have one shoe, because last time I forgot and I was going, whoops. So I want to show you one of our capsule collection that's evolved into a full collection. It's made with vintage Japanese OBs. Over time, every time we have a new series, we introduce them. So this is one of them. It's a Mary Jane. So the front part is the OB, and the back part is Italian suede, obviously. So we try to combine, tradition with modernity, and the whole idea is that it's repurposed and reused for some of these vintage OBs. And that way, it's part of our story of, reusing things that have been a part of one's heritage and remodernizing it in some ways,
I love that. So breathing new life into old fabric almost.
Yeah.
Wonderful. I love that. And Onyeta's made a comment, first of all, saying that Jade makes you all work very hard with my very difficult questions. And then after that, expressing also, this is Onyeta Effendi, who is the designer of Baju by Onyeta. She says, I think I want the audience in Paris to see that Singaporeans dare to dream. I love that. Fantastic. Now, I understand that Onyeta is actually going to be doing some workshops with you when she's up there in Paris. Are there any other sort of, Mashizan, are there any other sort of like IG Live sessions that we could plan when you guys are there so that the people in Singapore can see what you guys are up to when the fair is actually happening? What do you think about that?
I think that is fantastic. I mean, imagine something like this happening, right? And then we are at the store talking and walking through with you guys a show and tell. Steph, how about, would you want to do that?
Sure. I suppose now that I actually can get on IG Live, I suppose.
I mean,
one step at a time.
It'd be so cool if, like, say, we can do this at the store and people are trying on your pieces. It'll be quite cool. I think it'll be quite innovative. It's very experiential for one.
Actually, I made Jade try all of this when she came to my studio. I poured ankle on her. I put all the earrings on her.
Nice.
But I wanted to also point out one of the things, because of the way we make something like this, which is a fairly big earring that I'm wearing, that is extremely light because it's all held by needle and thread. And because it's hand sewn and because there is no extra metal, and this happens to be rose quartz, it's actually really, really comfortable to wear. So this bangle that I wanted to really give credit to my artisans, because this is 3,240 beads and they're about 1 million. And the incredible amount of patience and, I guess, obsession with craft that brings this up. So yeah, if there was to actually see people interacting with our things over there, I think that'd be fantastic, right?
Stephanie, I love your lapis lazuli earrings and the picture that you showed me, for collateral. That's so cool.
Did I make you wear this? Yes, you look fantastic.
We both oohed and ahed over it. It was such a lovely, alluring color. So strong. The saturation was just wonderful. Yeah. I loved it.
Lapis lazuli is my favorite stone, so I really love that.
Yeah. And you can tell also, right, the energy in Stephanie's voice when she's describing, her pieces. It's so passionate. It's so strong. It's so joyful. She's so proud of her artisans. I mean, although I know we've got visual merchandise, cards, and everything up next to our wares at the fair, and I'm sure Mashizan will be very happy to answer all the questions. It would not be the same as Stephanie herself speaking with them. So we've really got to try and figure out how we can get that, live connection over. It would be so amazing for Stephanie to be able to meet the people there who are trying on her earrings and the bangles.
All the other, I think it'll be really, really cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
How fantastic. We must harness technology in some way.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I love how we're sort of trying to innovate and move forward, despite distances, despite COVID. Can I ask you what it's been like to be an entrepreneur during the COVID pandemic? Maybe I'll ask Stephanie first, because Singapore has so many restrictions.
So hard. I just want to be really honest here. I think being an entrepreneur already is very lonely, right? It's not that you don't have people working with you and supporting you, but there's just a certain weight to what you care, especially if you create as well. It's quite a lonely experience sometimes. And I think what brings us joy is when we do connect with customers and connect with people and can share our love for the pieces and our inspiration with them. But I think COVID was just extremely difficult for us. Being thankful to be in Singapore with well-managed caseloads is one thing. I think being a very small business like ours, we did see our events. Basically, we had a lot of events that we did, and that sort of went away because of the COVID restrictions. I think retail was hard as well. And of course, we don't have a lot of firepower on digital channels to just outspend all the big brands, right? I mean, we can't compete over every 8, 9, 9, 10, 10, 11, 11 on the big brands. And I had to say that one of the things that I've tried to do is to, when COVID first started, I thought, should we really be asking people to buy more stuff? Because it seems like the world is facing much bigger challenges. And do you need another bangle or another necklace? Or there's nowhere to go. No one's going anywhere. No one's going to fancy dinners. And we made a decision that, we thought we should start messaging just empathy, right? Just empathy with what people are going through. And this is not the time to sell people stuff. This is the time to just have people just care, right? People aren't going to buy your stuff because they need another bangle, right? They might want to connect with you because they love what you do. And that's really sort of become one of the things I've tried to remember, right? We need to sell things to survive because we support our artisans, we're a business. But at the same time, I think we need to be bigger than just about the selling, right? We need to bring a bigger message, whatever that might be. It might be courage, it might just be hope, it might just be hanging in there. It might just be being real and saying, this is really tough for us too. And I think that's what COVID was. We're still not out of it, and it's still really, really hard.
I love that. So powerful, Steph. Mashizan, what's coming up for you as she speaks about her thoughts on an entrepreneur journey, already tough, made even tougher by the COVID pandemic?
I totally agree with what Stephanie just said in terms of the method, in terms of the motivations behind some of the things that we do as entrepreneurs. But adding to that also, I feel like, even in tough pandemic times, people are clamoring for something that is beautiful or aspirational, or ideas that bring some hope and light into our lives. I think it's important to always remember that it may be dark now. These times may be dark, but there'll be light at the end of the tunnel. So and what we as brands and designers try to do is sort of reflect the mood of the time, the l'air du temps, as the French would say it, the spirit of times. It's also important to realize that it may be tough now, but, things will get better.
Holding on to that hope. I love that so much. And for those of you who just joined us, I'm hosting this IG